Hello, I'm Steph from My Driver Classic, and today we are visiting the Morris Minor Owner Club National Rally 2024, which is being held at the British Motor Museum. Now, you may recognise the venue because it's also where we held Rustival earlier this year and where we're hosting Rustival later on this year in September. And essentially, this must be now my 14th or 15th National Rally, and I come back every year. Nothing stops me from getting to the National Rally. It's one of the best weekends of the year. You get to see all your friends from across the country. There are people here from New Zealand, America, all over the world that all come here today to culminate with their love of Morris Minors and to share the vehicles. To say that these cars haven't been made for many, many decades is remarkable. Not only just how many spares are here today, but also how many cars and people that love them as well. So in today's video, we're going to have a look at all the cars that are on display, maybe have a chat with some of the owners. I've not approached anyone yet, and just have a really great day out together. So come on, let me show you some of these cars. Right, this is really embarrassing, but I'm having to voice over this entire section because there's a modified pickup which you're going to see later on in this little section of the video, and I ended up geeking out about it. So as we're walking around this section, when I probably should be paying attention to everything else, I'm just geeking out about the pickup, which you're going to see, and it's painted amazing colours and it looks so cool. It's probably my favourite vehicle of the show. Now, as you can see here, Morris Minor owners are down to earth. That's why we've let a Triumph in and parked next to us, and this is the Saturday lineup, by the way, so it's got a little bit less order to it than the Sunday. So if you visited on the Sunday, you might have seen a completely different lineup of cars because not everybody comes for the full 2 days, and number two, you probably would have seen a little bit more order to the parking. And that's because on Sunday they do all the judging, so they park it for 2 doors, 4 doors, convertibles, travellers, and so on and so on. And so I actually, and I'm sure this will be disagreed with by some of you, I prefer the Saturday lineup because I love the jumbled mix of all the different vehicles. I love it as I walk along because it keeps my senses fresh, because I'm looking at all these things and thinking, oh, wow, love that, oh my god, that's great, and I get really immersed in it. When I go through a lineup and all the cars are the same, sometimes by the end of the row you can almost feel a bit model blind and just think, oh. Whereas when they're mixed like this, for me, it's a treasure trove of delights. Now, as many of you know, I've been a loyal member of the Morris Minor Owner Club for about 15 years, which feels like time that's flown by. It's very, very scary. Here's this pickup, by the way. Oh, I am obsessed with this. Take a look at it as I chat to you. Anywho, coming back to the Morris Minor Owner Club, if you aren't a member yet, very easy to join. You can just Google Morris Minor Owner Club. It's relatively cheap in terms of car clubs. Some of them seem to come in at over £100 a year. I mean, I could not afford that. Whereas Morris Minors and the club itself, it's all very down to earth and it's easy enough to get into. Now, the thing is, if you come to one of these shows, and my very first thing that I ever did with Morris Minors was come to the Morris Minor National Rally 2010. And I was so nervous and I didn't know anybody else for the Morris Minor. And it was actually coming to one of these shows and being really brave, because it can be really hard to realise this when you watch my videos. But I used to be really, I would say, shy almost. I was so nervous about approaching people, and people approached me and we had a bit of a chat, and that's what sparked everything that happened for me with Morris Minors. So if you are watching this and you have a Morris Minor and you didn't come this year, please, please come next year. If you don't know anybody else, come up and say hello to me and I'll introduce you to a few people so it makes it less awkward. But yes, anywho, I'm just nattering away to you. It's almost like we're here at the show together, and I'm showing you some of my favourite engine bays. This car is so original, by the way. Oh, it's beautiful. And there's just such a great selection. Now, I know that some of you are looking to buy your first Morris Minor. And so in the next section, after we've done a little interview to break up me nattering away, I'm going to give you what I think is good advice for buying your first Morris Minor. And I'm not going to tell you what to look for per se. I'm going to tell you which model to pick. So first of all, over to the MMOC branch and meet our first interviewee of the day. Right, what's your name and where did you come from?
I'm Ryan, I'm from Derby.
And tell us about your Morris Minor. How long have you had it?
Well, I'm just about a year actually.
Okay.
I had it the day before the National last year.
Oh, did
Yeah.
you? And did you do the drive down, or is
Yeah.
this your first? Oh, did you?
Yeah, I wasn't like properly used to it because it got a slightly more delicate clutch on it than my earlier Minor.
Yeah.
So
And so is this your first Morris Minor, or did you say
no,
you've
no,
got
my
another one?
second, yeah.
And so what brought you into the world of Morris Minors?
Well, for my birthday, I went to the Great British Car Journey in
Oh,
Ambergate,
yeah.
and I was booked in to drive 3 cars.
Yeah.
There was the Series 2 Land Rover, the Reliant Robin, and the convertible Morris Minor.
Oh, yeah.
But it wasn't the convertible I drove because it was raining, and for whatever reason the wipers weren't working, so I ended up in the Million.
Did
Yeah.
you? Oh, it's a nice car.
It is lovely.
And so that did it for you. You just
Yeah.
thought, I've got to have a Morris Minor.
Yeah.
And had you owned anything old before?
No.
So it was a pure leap of faith.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did a little bit of looking into availability of parts, and
Yeah.
it just made sense. I mean, it's cheaper to run than my modern car that I had before. And
Oh, absolutely. And so so how often are you using this? What's your game plan with it?
well, most days really, it's a daily driver. Yeah,
Really? It's very tidy for a daily driver.
yeah.
It's a lovely car. And so what are your plans for the rest of the year? We're halfway through the year. What's coming next?
Well, I suppose get to a few branch rallies. There's loads of local meets near me. You know, this time of the year you can get to one every night of the week practically.
Really?
Yeah.
So there's still a buzzing social life. Now, I must point it out, and I hope you don't mind, you are a younger person. I
Yeah.
think that a lot of people look at cars of this era and think that they're more popular with people that are maybe retired. As a young person, do you think Morris Minors offer an exhilarating experience?
Well, definitely, because it's something you can sort of get your teeth into and learn to maintain yourself. I mean, you know, my dad's a mechanic. He's
Yeah.
71, and even he's struggling now with some of the more modern stuff.
Oh, really?
So, you know, if you've not got a lot of money, something like this is something you can run and maintain and, you know, keep on the road yourself, you know, learn
Yeah.
through the whole process.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, throughout university, the price of parts was a godsend because it meant that I could still run my car, and so I completely get it. So, did you say her name? Has she got a name?
Dorothy.
Dorothy. Oh, well, thank you very much for bringing Dorothy today. I hope you have a great weekend with MMOC. That's your local branch,
Yes,
isn't it?
yes it is.
And so, for anyone that hasn't discovered them yet, don't know what that horn is, it's Mansfield and District, so that's up in Derbyshire. So thank you very much, and we'll go and see who else we've got here. So let's talk buying advice as we look at a few more cars in the lineup. And honestly, you're in for a treat. There's some really good stuff in this row, including my own car, which is just there. Anyway, coming back to the whole thing of which Morris Minor do you buy? And I get this question so much in my comment section. And I guess my advice to you would be this. If you are looking for your very first Morris Minor and you want something that you can use quite regularly, go for a later car. So the cars that are from those, you know, mid-60s onwards, because with the later cars, you have a plentiful parts supply. Now, controversially, I think that the lowlights are some of the most beautiful Morris Minors out there. However, it's really difficult to get some of the parts, and for me that just isn't compatible with my lifestyle, where I love to use classics, take them out most days, and also use the motorways. So if you're looking for a car that's not just going to be a bit of an ornament, or that you can use regularly, that you can take out on the motorways, that you can do adventures, go for a later car. Now this is a man where I didn't have to ask his name. This is Chris. And Chris, this is your Traveller Bandit, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Now this isn't the first Morris Minor in your family. What?
No,
give us a brief
I'm part of
history.
Clan Ryder. My wife is Amy Ryder, and her family have lots of different cars. Graham, the dad's got, I think, 8 cars in total.
8?
Several Wolseleys, 1 Morris Minor, in various states of repair. But he built one for Amy when she was for her 18th birthday.
Yeah.
Which I now kind of maintain for her. And then
That's lovely.
I finally cracked and got my own in February this year.
Good, so we've indoctrinated you fully now.
Yes.
Now, we have to ask the question, before you met Amy, did you like Morris Minors?
No. I was aware of old cars, but I didn't really know them. So I've come into it through family rather than a love of old cars.
But do you love it now, or do you think you've just been suitably brainwashed?
Column A, column B.
Brilliant. And you've got a beautiful little girl as well, haven't you? Who's Hazel is just the best. She's so chatty and fun, and she loves Morris Minors as well, doesn't she?
Yeah, she'll. When she was a little younger than she is now, if I opened the garage, she'd run up to Amy's car, Phoebe, and go, Phoebe, and hug her.
Aww. And this is the thing, like, people seem to think that young people aren't interested, but all you've got to do is just keep exposing people to classic cars and including them and making them feel part of the bigger picture. And that's how you kind of lure them in and get them to do stuff. Because how old is Hazel now? It feels like she was born 5 minutes ago. She's 7 already. Time is flying, because I remember when Amy was expecting.
Yeah.
But it's really great to see you here, and it's fantastic that you finally got your own Morris Minor, and we've got one more regularly turning up to everything.
Yes.
Brilliant. Right, let's go and see what else we've got here.
I thought I'd sneak in a quick, cheeky additional row for you. There are so many cars here, and if you are planning to come next year, give yourself the full day. I saw quite a few people turning up at about 11 or 12, and you miss so much because some people need to be heading off about 1, 2 o'clock. So you might completely miss an absolute gem that you love. So if you are watching this and planning it for next year and thinking, I will not miss out, you want to be arriving realistically between 8 and 9 in the morning to get the full benefit of all the cars, to enjoy the excitement and to see everything that's on offer.
This is Neil, and he's driven his Traveller Ruby all the way from Enfield in North London. Now, Neil, what attracted you to owning a Traveller? Is it your first Morris Minor?
My first Morris Minor, and I like the Traveller, so it come up at the right time. It wasn't close to where I live, so I bought it. No, nice, yeah. I had it 14 years.
14 years? My
yeah,
goodness.
and had it all restored.
Have you?
Yeah.
And so what did she look like when you first got her? Was she the same colour, or
Yeah, it
what had you done?
was maroon. Wood was okay, but getting a bit tatty.
Yeah.
And then after a few years, the wood just got worse and worse. So it was off the road for a couple of 3 years. And then got it restored, resprayed, new wood. Was stripped down to the shell.
Yeah.
The engine was fine, no work there. And yeah, all redone.
Now, we've spoken to a lot of people today that are still using their Morris Minor as a daily car, or pretty much a daily car. How often is Ruby out with you?
Most weekends, live in Enfield, which is, so driving around London during the week's a bit of a nightmare.
Oh, God, yeah.
But we use it when we can, but mostly weekends, yeah, so.
And where's the furthest you've been in the last 14 years?
We did Kelmarsh, the national show, last year. Suffolk, we went to the Long Shop Museum Classic Car Show there last year. Yeah, that's furthest we've been, yeah.
Oh, so you're cracking round there and getting about to different places and stuff?
Yeah, we use it well, it's a bit of fun, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And what do people think of it? Like your neighbours, your friends, your family?
You only get good words about it. Only get good things about it, and people always come up to you and say, "Oh, my dad had one of these," and "Oh, my aunt had one of these," and I remember when we went such and such. People have all got memories about Morris Minors.
Yeah, no, they are a really good car.
Yeah.
So what's next for you two then over this summer? Where are you going?
We're from Enfield, so the local shows, look up what's going, and just drive out weekends and picnic or whatever.
Wonderful. So Ruby will be with you for the foreseeable future then?
I'm not selling her ever.
We love that. We love that. The thing is, Morris Minors is so many people buy them and then they just become hooked for life.
Yep, no, don't ever want to replace her.
That's brilliant.
So it's going to inheritance for my boys, whether they want it or not.
No, they will. She's great. She's great. Well, thank you so much for bringing her today. She's
Thanks for the
gorgeous.
time.
Brilliant. See you later.
All right. Cheers, darling. Thank you.
I also meant to ask as well, sorry this has turned into just a massive chit chat with you all at home.
What are we thinking about the lack of background music? For me, it feels a bit flat because I love noise and colour and flavour and being a bit over the top, to be honest. But I know that some of you prefer that if I'm just chatting away that you don't want any background noise at all. The problem with this was, and I think you can hear it in a couple of the interviews, and I've had to really try and dial it down as much as I can, is they've got licensed music playing in the background. And for me, as a creator, that means that I get in trouble. So I have to knock all the background noise out. And quite a few people had stereos or music playing behind their cars, and it kept picking up songs, which means that I just have to end up cancelling all the noise. So I'd really like your opinion at home as we look at these cars together. And there's a few gaps at this point because I filmed this later on. How do we like it? Total silence or a bit of background music?
Now, you've probably seen as we've been looking around today that there are an awful lot of Morris Minors that look not too dissimilar from how they left the factory. And there I was having a little browse around and I saw all the modified cars and I spotted Spud's car and I thought, blimey, that's a nice bit of kit. So Spud, tell us about your car.
1275 and it's not been rebored, it's standard. It's one of my own engines. I've been building A-series engines all my life, although I'm retired now.
Yeah.
Set of 1.5 inches. I'm running a 6-speed BMW 318 gearbox, running through a Baby Atlas Ford rear axle.
Yeah.
So it runs as a modern day car. It's my everyday car, more or less.
Is
now.
it?
Yeah.
And so for people that want to start modifying but don't really know where to start, what's the one modification that you think adds value to your car, whether you're running a bigger engine or a smaller engine? What's the first thing you did?
Brakes. You need to be able to stop them. The brakes, they're great cars, and they're brilliant, and they're iconic, but when they were made back in the 40s, 50s, they didn't really take into account, like, you know, that you really needed to stop at some point. So the brakes were always a bad sign on them. So yeah, I did the brakes first before I did anything else, to be quite honest.
Yeah,
so
it's a sensible thing
it
to
stopped
do.
before it went.
Well, it's really good. I think sometimes people take cars too far and they end up losing a lot of what makes the car, it's the car, but because it's still an A-series engine underneath, it still feels very true to its roots.
That's true, yeah. There's some beautiful conversions here with V8s in, and I mean, I take my hat off to the people that do them because they are really good, they're fantastic. Yeah. But, you know, I like to try and keep it as retro as possible. So,
I like that.
Yeah.
And so everyone at home is going to wonder, and I know that you know it, what is your top speed?
Halfway on the fuel gauge, so it was half full. So it'll actually do half full, really. So it's over 100 miles an hour.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
Goes
is
to 90.
amazing.
And the speedo's right in it because we had to have the speedo recalibrated.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I run the speedo off my front wheel instead of off the gearbox.
Oh, do you? Okay.
So it was, I don't know, 105. That's when the bottle went then, and I had to shut it off, really, to be quite honest.
And what did that feel like? Was the car rattling? What was it like?
No, it was quite firm on the road until I lifted off, and then because of the nature of the suspension, really, all I've done is I've enhanced the suspension.
Okay.
It went a little light on the back end, which was a little bit twitchy, but other than
Really?
that, yeah. But I go everywhere in it. I use it more or less as my everyday car.
Yeah.
My better half and myself, we did over 1,000 miles. We went to France in it in April.
Oh, did you? Where
Drove
did you
it,
go?
A place called Orioles, which is
Oh, yeah?
nearly down by Bordeaux. So it was like a 5.5 hour drive from Cannes. So yeah, it was great.
I mean, you can't ask more than that for a car, which, how old?
61 this is.
1961.
Yeah.
Well, she looks really lovely.
Thank you very much.
All the modifications you've done are just spot on. And I think that one of the things that we should say is if you are modifying your car and you don't really know what you're doing, do go and seek the help or assistance of a professional that really has their finger on the pulse of it all. Right, come on, let's go and have a look at some of the others.
A quick snippet of some of the cars that we'd missed, just catching up. You could see someone who's even come from overseas before we jump into the next interview. My goodness, there's just so many brilliant cars here today, aren't there?
Now this is Lucy and Ruby, and if you hadn't guessed, Ruby is the car, being the ruby red car in this equation. Now Lucy, This is an absolutely beautiful low-light tourer. What attracted you to owning a low-light? Because they're a little bit slower than some of the other Morris Minors here.
A lot slower, but I thought that's also my car over there, which I'd owned for 3 years. It was coming up to my 40th birthday, and I saw this locally, and I just couldn't help but have her, really. She's just absolutely gorgeous.
She is absolutely stunning. I love the picnic set on the back as well, which all matches in. So what's brought you into the world of Morris Minors? Because you've got to be dedicated to have two.
So I went to the Great British Car Journey and the Gate and saw the millionth.
Yeah.
And I decided that I wanted one. And at the time I was like, oh yeah, I'm having a purple one.
Yeah.
Went straight on eBay. There aren't any purple ones available. And then my husband went, yeah, there aren't going to be any of those available. They're a special edition. And then I saw Doris locally.
Yeah.
Went to see it and just fell in love straight away.
Aww.
The noise when they drive is just absolutely amazing. It's unrecognisable for any other car, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And so you've been hooked since then.
Yep.
And so how often are you out in your Morris Minors?
So this week I've driven both of these to work with me.
Wonderful.
But I try to go out every weekend if I possibly can. Even in winter, I like to drive them.
Really?
Yeah,
oh,
absolutely.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so how has it been? People always ask this question, it feels so tired, but how is it being a female owner? Do you find that sometimes people are surprised that she's yours, or?
Yeah, when I first put her on Facebook, I had lots of, great mate, yeah, well done mate, yeah, she's a fabulous car, best one ever. And I was like, I am a lady, but I'm really lucky. My husband is into vintage vehicles. He's got a V-dub camper van, and so he does all the sort of maintenance. I just tell him what to do, basically.
No, brilliant. I mean, it doesn't matter who does your maintenance as long as you're keeping on top of it. People sometimes get really tetchy about it and say, oh, well, you should be doing everything yourself. But if we're being really honest with ourselves, you're not always going to be able to do everything yourself.
Not.
You can't be an expert in absolutely everything.
Absolutely
so as long as you're a diligent owner who's making sure everything's sorted, I don't personally see a problem. And it keeps someone busy.
It does.
In this case, your husband.
Yes, my husband's very busy.
Well, I tell you what, your car is just stunning. And I can't believe that's 2 people now that we've met that have purchased a Morris Minor after testing one at the Great British Car Journey. And this is what I mean when I say to people, let people sit in your car, take people out for a drive, because it doesn't work when you just see a picture online. When you get into these cars, when you hear them, when you smell them, when you touch them.
It's the noise.
This is what brings people into the hobby. So no matter what classic you're driving, it's definitely worth getting someone in that passenger seat, or if you're a little bit braver, maybe the driver's seat, and sharing that car. Lucy, we can only wish you all the best for your 2 beautiful cars.
Thank you.
You're taking such great care of them. They're gorgeous. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Something that always makes me feel a bit ugh is when you go to a car club and they almost ostracise the people that have modified their vehicles. Now, I am not really into modifications. However, I totally respect the ingenuity, the talent, the imagination that goes into these vehicles. And I believe they've got just as much right to be in the spotlight as we do. And this is one of the great things about all the MMOC events, is that modified vehicles are not only welcomed, but really encouraged to show off. We have awards for them. There's a special register. It might be a club, might be just a branch actually. And there is essentially an area given to them to show off. And they had one of the best areas in my opinions, because as you pulled in, you got to see all the modified cars. And when you've seen rows of standard cars, this kind of adds a bit of spice to the rally. I talk a lot about how the MMOC is supportive, but what do I mean by that? Well, the MMOC as a club is supportive in itself. If I rang the Derby office and I said, look, I've got this question, they'd probably help me out. However, the real people in your Morris Minor community that you need to get to know and that you need to make really good friends with are your local branch. Now, it tends to be there's, I would say, pretty much one for every single area. My local one is West Yorkshire, and I say this with a little bit of guilt in my voice because I have been so
busy the last year or so that I've not really been turning up for anything. So apologies, West Yorkshire branch and Simon, if you're watching this, because there's such a great bunch of people that I know that if I was really stuck, I could still probably ring them, even though I've been rubbish at turning up for things, and they would still help me. Because this is the thing about your local branch, is it connects you to all the people that are local to you. And this is really good for a few reasons. Number one is we live in a society, in my opinion, and I'm sorry if I sound like I'm getting on my high horse, but I feel like ever since COVID, we're so much more disconnected from each other. Everyone's connected behind a screen, but are we connected in real life? Not in the same way. So it's a really good opportunity to get out, meet other people, and to have real life conversations that aren't behind a screen. I personally don't do well with all my conversations behind a screen, and I don't shine, and I don't feel like myself. This is what I love. I love coming out to events and doing real life socializing. And when you go to a branch, it's like a smaller version of this, and you get really lovely relationships, you get to meet wonderful people, and also there are other benefits too. You've got things like skill sharing, shared experiences. Quite a few of the branches, once you get involved, will invite you on things like they do a lot of them seem to do fish and chip runs. Some of them do fixing nights, so they show you how to repair things on your vehicle. But more often than not, it's just a fantastically wonderful bunch of people that are nearby to you that can help if things go wrong. Because owning a Morris Minor is never as fun if you just try and do it all on your own and you don't include other people. You get the most out of your Morris Minor, and I think any classic car actually, when you join a club, when you get involved with other people that have got the same vehicle as you, because you can have a bit of a laugh when things go wrong, and the experiences aren't quite so bitter when they do go wrong, because you think, well, at least I can ring this person or that person, and say you need a part for your vehicle, you've got to get to work the next morning. There will always be somebody in a local branch that can help you. Now, my one criticism is that this was a very central event, and there are other branches. I mean, goodness me, if the Scottish branch can make it, we should be seeing more of the other branches really step out and come down. So there's some of the branches that have put on fantastic displays in previous years that I've really enjoyed that aren't here this year. So I would really like to see more branches coming next year. I mean, goodness me, the Dorset branch, for example, had a stupendous lineup at Moggy Fest. As you would have seen in my video, I would have loved to have seen some more of their cars, because they have got some just cracking vehicles in their branch. So please, if you are watching this and you are in a branch, or you're out on a limb and you don't really know anyone yet, come along next year, get involved and have a bit of a laugh, and let's try and make this lineup a wee bit more vibrant. And I also think if you're watching this and you're from the MMOC main committee, let's bring back fancy dress and mad themes, because Branch Avenue used to be absolutely crackers when we used to have themes to work to, and when our parties at night had a fancy dress theme. And also I quite like dressing up, and I'd like to go back to a bit of that. So the next thing I want to show you is the registers. Now the registers operate slightly differently to the branches. Branches are local to you, registers are national, international, they include everyone. So you've got all these lilac vehicles. These are Morris Minor Millions, if you didn't already know that. I'm sure plenty of you do. And you've got all the Minor Millions across the world that are eligible to join this register. They had a really good lineup in this one. So they had Car 1,000,001, they had Car 1,000,000, they had all sorts. You also have the dual personality register, and then you've got the Series 2. Now this is Richard's van, and I feel a bit bad because I did a really cracking interview with Richard, but I just ran out of time to share it with you. Now I really hope you've enjoyed this video today. It has been so much fun to share it with you, to share my love of Morris Minors with you, and to bring you a vehicle. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comment section below. But until tomorrow, take care and drive safely.